What is going on, guys? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. My name is Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, Crypto Ewok beside me as well. We've got a great show for you tonight. If you are just listening on the back end and not seeing the thumbnail, which is probably a minority view, but if you're watching here on YouTube, yes, we have major ETF applications from the old heads. We have legacy finance getting into the crypto space. Is this a master plan? It certainly looks that way. We're going to talk about all that and more tonight. We're going to delve deep into the PulseChain ecosystem. Do we think the lows are in off this recent rally? Do we think we're going to dip back down? When is Richard Hart going to stream? Some people are being weird about that for whatever reason. We've got a lot going on. BTC blasts through 30K today for a little while. We got interesting things going on here. So all that and more. If you're here, hit the like right off the bat. Subscribe to the channel as well. It is Creed of Crypto. Welcome everybody in. Ewok, how you feeling this evening?
Feeling good. Another hump day. You know, we're halfway to the weekend. Lots of interesting stuff going on in the markets. Somewhat interesting, I guess. Mostly that ETF garbage that I've been. You know, things are playing out kind of like we talked about last week a little bit. I had a sneaky suspicion that weird things were about to happen with, you know, the traditional markets, the banks, and here we've got what 10 or 11, I think, in the last couple of days that applied for ETFs. Getting interesting. So we'll see what happens, see how it shakes out and how things go.
Yeah, to your credit, I mean, this is essentially exactly what you called. Now, I don't know. We'll get into this tonight, and plenty of theories are sure to go around, you know, exactly like the order of things here. Gary Gensler going rogue and just, you know, you get sued, you get sued, you get sued. And then 1 week later, literally, we have all these old bank institutions applying for a Bitcoin spot ETF. So, certainly interesting right now. Let's start off, though, real quick with the actual price action that we're seeing now. You know, there's the old kind of trader phrase, which is, you know, show me the chart and I'll tell you what the news is, basically, because a lot of people are pointing to, oh, yeah, Bitcoin blast through 30K, and it's all because of these Bitcoin ETFs that we're seeing coming out. Well, maybe not necessarily. We'll kind of get to that. You could also point to potentially the Fed not necessarily pivoting, but not upping interest rates yet again just last week, which is a big thing too. But yeah, we saw crazy price action today, and nothing to sneeze at. Although when I alerted you to it, you know, you did say buy the rumor, sell the news, obviously, which is true. But I was still surprised that BTC did bounce through 30K, which is a pretty big area of resistance. It did, as I'll have you talk about here in a moment, you kind of bounce off that almost 31K area there. But BTC just, bounces back big time today after a recent dip. You know, people kind of worrying about things were going to go, and smashes through 30K today. As we sit here right now, we've got BTC at literally right at 30K, ETH at almost 1,900 again. We're going to get to the PulseChain ecosystem here in a moment. I'll list off those prices too. But as far as like the rest of the market, what are you seeing here, Ewok? And we'll get into the reasons why, the ETFs and all that. But what do you think about Bitcoin going through 30K today, which is a pretty significant move?
I think has everything to do with it. It's the news of all the ETFs. But what people don't really understand is traditionally, this is not that great for the markets. You know, cryptocurrency was invented to get rid of middlemen. And here we are just injecting more of them. The one good thing about the ETFs is that usually, I say usually, when they buy, they don't sell historically. So we'll see how that plays out. But this is exactly what's causing this run up. So I wouldn't get your hopes up that we're deeply involved into a bull run. As you said, it pretty much hit 30,800 and just died. So, and here we are, we painting a red candle already. You know, it's come down considerably from there, and I think it may come down a little bit more. But you know, who knows? Like I said, with the legacy markets getting in like this, these things being traded on the Dow and, you know, on NASDAQ, whatever. I don't know. I don't see it being that beneficial. And like I said, many people think it's a good thing. The older people that have been around for a while kind of agree with me and say, yeah, it's not the greatest. So got to wait and see how it plays out.
Well, looking at the actual price here real quick. So yeah, bouncing off almost 31K. If you zoom out on that chart a little bit, Ewok, I remember pretty distinctly we're almost a year and a half ago now. So January 2022, actually. This is when, assign whatever story you want to it, but we were in the throes of a bear market that was only going to get worse and worse. But we had Russia invading Ukraine at that time. And I remember we were trading right at around that low 30s region, I believe, at about January of that time. And there was a lot of support there. So it would make sense that that is an area of resistance for Bitcoin. Did I make that up? Where were we back at that time?
Well, it looks like
maybe
January. Higher. So it's not letting me move it. I don't want to do that. But it looks like January of 2022, we hit this bottom right here. It looks like January 22nd. Right about 33.
Okay. Yeah.
33,000. So it didn't quite make it that far, but when you come back here, this level has played an interesting part right in through here a lot. This whole area caught that as resistance between 28 and 32. It just chopped around there from May into June for a whole month. So, there is support, there's resistance there now. What was support, but once it broke through, now it's obviously turned into resistance. So,
yeah,
again, we have to kind of watch and see how it works out. I don't know. They removed all the buttons and stuff on here, so I have to figure that out again. But
Trading View playing tricks on you.
Trading View's playing tricks.
Well, regardless, and we've said this ad nauseum over the last few months, but 2023, while it is far better than 2022, it is still an accumulation year. And as good as the overall crypto market, depending on how you look at it, maybe good, or the news, I should say, is good, or the price is looking good today, it is going to be one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. We're going to see that a lot this year. Just a lot of, I think maybe the most boring parts are over with. I think we could maybe see, it would make sense to me that the second half of this year to see more bullish action, but still nothing absolutely crazy like the middle of a bull market. I think the most boring parts are over, but just keep in mind, I mean, on a day like today, when it seems like, oh yeah, here we go. And you probably saw it too, Ewok. I mean, I saw all the big time traders, everybody was just flipping out. And the thing to keep in mind is when you're seeing that, obviously, I love using Twitter as a sentiment tool. I mean, like, I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew, I know last week in the chat, you talked about the fear and greed index and stuff like that. I really think that Twitter is such a perfect sentiment tool because you will even see it today. And I'm talking about smart guys, if you want to call day traders smart guys. I mean, like, I was going through Twitter and just seeing all this positivity and, understandably so, they haven't seen this kind of action for a while, but it's like, yeah, this isn't the time to be FOMOing in. I mean, like, if you want to continue DCAing, we're obviously going to talk a lot about Richard Hart, the PulseChain ecosystem and stuff like that here tonight. Those prices are still pretty suppressed, and I'm buying them right now. But in terms of like the regular market, buying a pump on like Bitcoin, for example, today is a loser move long term. I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe you'll be up eventually, but I'm just saying, FOMOing in on something with as little as returns as we're going to see from Bitcoin on a day like today is just not what you want to do. So that's why I think that Twitter sentiment is so valuable.
Yeah, I agree. I think you do get a lot of interesting sentiment. It really depends on the algorithm. Some days, but you can definitely catch what people are feeling and just the mood of people. Whether it's total doom and gloom from everywhere you look, or there's actually some positive things happening. And, today was one of those positive things. But like I said, I think this could be under false pretenses here. Just don't get your hopes up whenever some of these things launch. Look for another dump. So,
Mm-hmm.
sell the news.
And to be clear, as far as those things launching, and we'll get to in a moment, but I mean, the actual approval of the ETFs and stuff, I mean, we're looking like, I mean, that would be next year. That would be like a Bitcoin halvening, I think, time frame roughly, like in the springtime of next year.
April of next year is when that goes down. So,
yep. So probably not till then. So,
yeah, and I don't know how long it takes for approvals to go through. I mean, it really may depend on how involved do they want these people and how soon.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we're going to get way into the weeds on that. Just to finish off the Twitter point, because I did see this the other day, and this made more sense, I feel like, to go into before that. So you saw a day before today. So this is another signal to me to where you should be not going to tell anybody what to do. It's not financial advice, is what we're doing, but you should be looking at your favorite alts right now. You know, I doubt anybody really watching this is somebody that's holding tons of Bitcoin, maybe not even tons of Ethereum. But I mean, like just yesterday, I saw like Ben Cohen, other trader type guys celebrating BTC Maxi types, which, you know, if that's your prerogative, that's fine. But a lot of them were all over Twitter this week, mainly yesterday, bragging about BTC dominance is up over 50% for the first time since April 2021, and just celebrating it, like Bitcoin proving it's the king of this market again and all this stuff. And I just don't know what that serves you. I guess like if you're a bag holder of Bitcoin, which they all likely are, and you want to celebrate that, that's fine. I mean, you know, we see it with HEX too. I mean, if HEX is pumping, eHEX recently pumped like 25%. People are celebrating that. That all makes sense. I understand that. But to me, wouldn't it make sense that when Bitcoin is temporarily, which this is temporary, at this level of dominance for the first time in a year and a half, why would be getting into more Bitcoin be the move? You know what I mean? Like, so its dominance is higher right now. That would mean to me, like, get into your favorite alts at a time like this, not buy more Bitcoin, because this is assuredly going to go down. So I'm interested just to hear your take on that. Like, everybody's celebrating. I mean, that chart doesn't even really mean all that much, the Bitcoin dominance, and it's not something that I look at frequently, but just for people to be celebrating it so strongly right now, I don't know, it just smells to me a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I saw somebody else post something about definitely being I forget how it was even worded, but the guy said, yeah, right now is not the time to be getting into alts. And I'm like, right now is the exact time to be getting into alts.
Right.
So yeah, that's what it is. You hit the nail on the head there when you said the people that are excited are the ones that are major Bitcoin bag holders, you know, thumping their chests a little bit and you know, because it doesn't last that long. Whenever you know, see the bull market take effect, you know, the major gains are going to be in your altcoins. You know, you're not going to see those kind of returns from Bitcoin anymore. It's just too old. It's too heavy. There's way too many things that are involved and holding it down. Whereas when you have some of these newer altcoins where, you know, you don't have a whole lot of liquidity, some people say that's a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing for price performance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the ones where you're going to see the massive price appreciation and the gains. So as I said to this guy, you know, right now is exactly the time to be picking your altcoins. They got to be the right ones. I mean, don't throw all your money at the newest shiny object. It's got to have a good community. It's got to have a good, you know, history behind it. Yeah, the token on everything. It has to be the right one, and you'll far outperform Bitcoin. And then if you want at the top, sell it and buy your Bitcoin back. But you're going to end up with more Bitcoin if you do it that way.
Yeah. It's, I agree with you 100%. Like right now is not the time to be aping into Bitcoin, clearly, on a day like today. So,
No.
but that's just kind of how it is. I mean, like you know, these people haven't seen this kind of positive price action from Bitcoin for a while. I think they're probably excited by legacy finance, whatever you want to call it, controllingly kind of having their way with crypto suddenly. So, I think they're into it, and they're seeing what we're going to see in the cycle. But again, like you said, Ewok, and this is what we're going to transition to right now. I don't know that that's all positive. I actually don't think it is for us on the whole. I think it was always likely that this kind of adoption or regulation or dominating of the crypto industry by legacy finance was going to happen. I'm not saying that wasn't going to happen at some point. I still don't know how great it is. So we'll transition into that now. If you guys are here, though, and enjoying the stream, hit the like. We very much appreciate it. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, let's get into the big story. So BlackRock, Deutsche Bank, Schwab, Valkyrie, we just saw earlier today, Citadel, Fidelity, other big names. We've got that. That was only like 6 or 7. We've got at least 10 that have applied.
I saw Wisdom Tree was another one. I'm not familiar with them, but I saw someone said that was a bigger name. I don't know who Wisdom Tree is, but
I think we've got some European banks maybe in on this too that we're not as familiar with. But yeah, BlackRock, clearly that was the first one and a huge one. Fidelity, obviously, everybody knows about. They actually have had Bitcoin mining going on for years now. I mean, actually a couple of cycles. But so let's just lay this out. Now, credit to you, Ewok. I don't remember I guess it was last week's show, maybe the week before, but you're not going to say the C word, but your theory, which you're probably dead on about, was that Gary Gensler, Mr. Burns, the SEC was basically preparatory suing everybody in the crypto space, the actual crypto exchanges, to basically pave the way for these legacy financial institutions to start getting involved. Nobody's even trying to hide this at this point. So Coinbase gets sued last week. Binance, a much more serious suit. Coinbase, not so much. Sued by the SEC. And literally within a week, we see all of these institutions apply for a spot Bitcoin ETF. And if you don't know what that means for whatever reason, we've had other stuff in the past, like Bitcoin Grayscale, which is more of like a fund. It's a derivative or a futures. It's not really a spot ETF. We have not had that in this space yet. And it's always been looked at as a big thing. Like by the time we get a spot ETF, that's going to be when, grandma and grandpa actually have, 10% of their retirement fund in some Bitcoin ETF. So that's what these institutions are applying for. What's so crazy about it is BlackRock's, for example, and I'm sure some of these other ones, this ETF was backed and supported by Coinbase, who is, again, currently being sued by the SEC. So first off, go ahead.
Well, Coinbase was supposed to be the custodian for the holding. So that's what I found the most interesting about all of this is that BlackRock applies for this and they want then Coinbase to custody it. Meanwhile, they're being sued by the SEC.
Right.
It just does not adding up, man. It doesn't make sense. How can you have somebody and maybe it's to get them out of that market with the the unregistered securities that they say that they're selling, so that it can open up the doors for more of this from legacy finance. So, sorry, I cut you off there, but that's the funny part to me is the custodianship from Coinbase. Meanwhile, they're being sued. It doesn't add up. Something's still not right.
Well, here's what I wonder, because we've been saying, like, is Gary Gensler in bed with these institutions, and he was kind of just the guy to go out and sue the crypto exchanges to get this to happen? Or are these institutions not exactly aligned with Gensler and there's no real support there? And, he's just kind of acting rogue and they're then just taking advantage of it on the back end. I mean, like, it smells too fishy for them to not all be working together.
Right.
But as far as Gensler goes, I mean, you still got to think that he's on the hot seat. I mean, I think he might just be the fall guy in all of this by the time it's all said and done. I mean, them being in cahoots just makes way too much sense. It's just all of this is just way too soon, way too convenient to not be that way. So what do you make of it? And what do you think happens to Gensler when the dust settles here? Because nobody really likes him. So,
well, I'm hoping he loses his job before the dust even settles. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these ETFs don't get approved. I don't be shocked if only 2 or 3 of them, the big names, the BlackRocks, the Schwab, Deutsche Bank will probably be another one because they're, overseas.
Yeah.
But again, don't be surprised if only 3 or 4 of them get approved. All the other ones could possibly get denied because, like you said, there's been other attempts at it, but not a spot BTC ETF like this. So it is new. Again, that was kind of my part of my question is how well will it work out if they're actually buying and holding actual Bitcoin rather than just a derivative. So it's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to play out, but with these people getting involved, odds are there's something shady going on, just like everything else, right?
Well, it was clearly paved for BlackRock. I mean, they were the first one in. I mean, I think we all think this. I mean, everybody I've read talk about it has been in the works for probably a while now, like for the better part of a year or two, that BlackRock was going to be the one to get it. I mean, they already own everything anyway. So yeah, clearly they will get approved. Maybe Schwab, Fidelity, Deutsche, that all would make sense. What I'm wondering, so you were talking about like which ones will be approved and which ones not. So typically this does take 250 days or so for these to get approved. Those ones are going to get approved. Like at least a couple of these prominent ones, like you said, Ewok, are definitely going to get approved. And that time frame of 250 days or whatever it is, which I think is about the average that this does happen, would put us, we were talking a bit ago, at the Bitcoin halving there in April, basically, of next year. So that creates an awful interesting scenario where we have the Bitcoin halving. Now, when the halving occurs, if you're not, the viewers aren't familiar with like past cycles, usually up to about a year after that is when you start to see the bull market really, really pop off. It's not instantaneous, but something like this, which again will be a sell the news event. I'm just wondering, I mean, what kind of, I know we're future casting here, and that's kind of dangerous to do, but looking in April of next year, which is an eternity in crypto. I mean, we just saw how much shit just happened in a week. So think about, 10 months.
Right.
But would it make sense to you, Ewok, that, we're seeing the announcement of some of these ETFs getting approved, the halving occurs, which will probably be a sell the news event within itself. And we get maybe some major pumpage next spring for like a dump after the halving. That seems like how this could play out to me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, usually the halvening is a dumpening event, at least for a little while right after that, because it is a sell the news event. It kind of is going to depend on how all this falls into place, I guess, with everything else, the timing of it, the timing of the halvening. Is it going to be before or is it going to be after? I think that'll really matter a lot depending. So if it happens before and then the happenings, I think you're going to see a real drastic dump. If it happens afterwards, it may not be as severe only because people are kind of preparing for this ETF. So going to be interesting. Again, it's an eternity away. So many things could happen in the meantime. But yeah, it's going to definitely make for an interesting spring one way or another as far as Bitcoin goes. And everything else kind of follows. The markets definitely are correlated with it. So we'll be waiting anxiously to see how it plays out.
We definitely will. And then this was all followed up today. Again, things turning up roses for Bitcoin and crypto allegedly this week. So now today, Jerome Powell spoke. Jerome Powell, obviously the head of the Fed. Every month he basically tells us if we're allowed to spend money or not again, and where inflation is going and stuff like that. So he was being interviewed today and literally said that he was kind of directly grilled about crypto and said that he thinks it has the staying power as an asset class, which was interesting to see. And again, this is kind of him directly going against Gary Gensler. I mean, like he's just sounding a lot different and providing, not that he's the SEC guy, but providing more clarity on how they feel about it than Gensler. He also mentioned that he sees stable coins as a form of money. I'm not entirely sure what that sentence means to him, but those are two things that he said. So what are kind of your takeaways of this? Because all of this happening this week, all we see on TV are all these old guys that are in charge of government entities that we didn't elect, making decisions nobody really supports. So,
Right.
it's like we're seeing the ETF stuff, we're seeing the stuff that Powell is saying, we're seeing stuff the Fed is saying versus the stuff the SEC is saying. It just seems like these powers that be are pushing for crypto adoption their way, as you've said, to get their piece of the pie. And, if Gensler again needs to be the fall guy, then so be it. But what do you make of these Powell comments?
So I read more into actually what Powell said, and he said, I do view stable coins as money, and here's why. He said because the central banks are in control of creating the belief. It's funny how he worded it.
Mm-hmm.
Creating the belief of the value of money, and because stable coins are pegged to the dollar, they're also and backed by dollars, they're also kind of tied in. He made it really weird how he said it, but just the fact that he said central banks are kind of responsible for the belief in money, that it has value. That was his in not so many words. He's like, this is this paper stuff. We're the ones that are responsible for making you think it's got value.
Yeah.
So, and therefore, because the stable coins are pegged to that thing, they're also valuable. And it was almost like they were trying to gain responsibility for allowing that stable coins to have value. It was kind of weird the way I took it. And then I'm thinking, oh, wait, maybe this is his play into CBDCs. Here we go again, where these stable coins are money. Here, we're going to define them as money. So when our stable coin comes out, you're not going to be surprised that they're also viewed as money and interchangeable just the same way. So that was my take on the whole thing and how they possibly will spin it. I mean, you always have to be thinking, how are these guys going to spin this to their advantage? And, it always has a play somehow.
Well, as long as we can bridge Fed now over to PulseChain and trade it for, whatever we want to buy, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. So most importantly, this is the most important thing to us, I think, out of all of this. So all this ETF news, all these legacy guys, everybody cozying up to crypto all of a sudden. You were speculating that even though everybody's celebrating this and dancing in the streets right now, that this is likely more of a bad thing. And I agree with you. Again, I'm not saying it could have. It was inevitable. I think this is going to happen eventually. I'm not saying we had a choice necessarily in the matter. But I do agree that if anything, it's probably not so great, because I'm telling you right now, this is probably going to limit the upside for Bitcoin in this coming bull cycle. It's probably going to certainly limit the upside for Bitcoin, I am saying, and kind of crypto as a whole, even though if you're still involved in other things that are going to go up higher than Bitcoin, you'll probably be all right. But the Bitcoin gains are going to be limited. We already know they're diminished time after time after time. 69K being the top in the last bull market already disappointed many, many people. That was only a 3.5x or so off of the previous bull market high. And a lot of people are automatically calling for 100K BTC in the next bull market. Now, I certainly could see that happening. I'm not saying it's not going to. But with these institutions getting into this level and this many of them, not that we think all of these are going to get the approval, but with major banks with tons of money are going to get approval for a spot ETF. And again, that liquidity kind of more so going the other direction, and regular citizens all of a sudden being subjected to investing in Bitcoin, the upside is just not going to be as crazy. And you're going to not see as many Wild West type scenarios in crypto. Again, I'm talking a little long term. I'm not saying like in 6 months, but I think you'll start to see it over the course of this bull cycle, and certainly the next 4 years after that one. So what do you make of that, Ewok? I mean, it's just like a scenario right now where you don't think Bitcoin will hit that 6-figure mark. I mean, because even a 2x would be 150 130, 140K for Bitcoin, which I think a lot of people have been expecting. Do we even get there? Do we even hit six-figure Bitcoin with all this stuff happening? What do you make of that?
I think so. I think the market cap definitely increases. There is a lot more money going to be coming in. And I can still see, I think originally I had called 130 or 135 as my top-ish for the next cycle. And I could see that definitely helping that part of it. But as you said, as the more people get in, you're not going to have it's going to almost stabilize it, right? I mean, you're not going to have the major dips. You're not going to have the major green candles either. It could be a very slow, steady thing, which necessarily isn't bad either. But you don't get those buying opportunities like you once had ever.
Yeah.
What if it does go up there and stabilize like that? You're not who's gonna have the money to go out and buy a Bitcoin? It's just unattainable at that point. And then just having 0.5 Bitcoin would definitely be nice.
Yeah.
It's not attainable for the normie anymore. Once that all happens. So yeah, I can still see it hitting six figures. I think, I'm still projecting that 125 to 135K top-ish area. So that's just who knows. I think, like you said, things happen so quickly in the space, and the way they play out, and one thing can cause dominoes to just hurt everything, or it could help everything too. But I just don't, like I said, the thing that I'm more fearful of is more legacy people, the more middlemen that want their cut of something, is usually never good for the market.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we are going to see it slow down over time. I'm with you. I think I still probably see a six-figure BTC by the time we hit the top of the next bull cycle. But with these diminishing returns, which are, only going to be more diminished by all these entities getting in, to me, it just makes me want to double down on the stuff that we're already most aggressive with. Like I want to even be even more heavily weighted in the Richard Hart ecosystem, PulseChain ecosystem right now. The stuff that I think is really going to run this coming cycle, that is at its, very first cycle in the case of PulseChain, PulseX, most of the coins there. It just makes me want to be even more aggressive and, ride the volatility of the super volatile stuff this cycle, because we don't know. I just think we're going to have this scenario where all these people are going to hear about like the Pepes of the world and the Shiba Inu successes of the world, and what we've seen from HEX, what we'll see from PulseChain this cycle. And just for years and years, think they'll just be able to come into this market and we've already talked before about the lottery ticket mentality, but just think that they can do that till the end of time. And I don't know how long this Wild West to that extent is going to last if we start to see this stuff come in. So, it's going to be easy to end up actually being late to crypto in terms of those kind of gains, I think, over the next 8 years. And if you are here right now, like watching this stream in this space, whether you watch us, whether you typically watch somebody else, whether you're in crypto in almost any capacity right now, specifically this time in the market, be happy that you're here now, because I don't think it's going to be 4 years from now. I mean, you'll be regretting that you weren't here at this time right now, right?
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas going on at that point. I think, in 4 years will probably be before the next bull cycle, not this upcoming one, but the one following that. And I've heard other people say, prepare for things to kind of die down as far as gains go. As an overall space, though, there is going to be a lot more money in the market, and there's always going to be those golden eggs that you can find here and there that do have massive gains, but the odds of finding them are few and far between. You have to get really lucky, find the right one, and jump on and jump out at the right time, because otherwise, you're just the massive gains, the lottery mentality winnings are going to diminish over time.
Yeah, at that point, it's just more, you're better off holding something that you have high conviction in, really believe in it, and you think will still make a lot of X's in the bull cycle. So, lots of interesting stuff for sure. We'll see how it goes. Next 6 months are going to be very entertaining. So we'll kind of keep a beat on that. I'm sure. I mean, everybody will. It'll be the biggest story in crypto, really. So, if you guys are here and enjoying the stream, do us a favor and hit the like button. We very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the Creative Crypto channel. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Transitioning now to that stuff I was talking about, the Richard Heart ecosystem, the PulseChain ecosystem, the stuff that we really want to be holding right now for massive success this cycle. This is primarily what we're looking at. Taking a look at the overall prices. Thanks for pulling that up, Ewok. We've got Pulse just kind of still hanging out right at that sack rate. We saw it rally up over the course of the last week. And again, you're still able to get what everybody waited 2 years for the same price right now for PulseChain. So you can go ahead and grab that. A lot of people did not get the chance to sacrifice for the Pulse token. So there you go. Its low was what? I think quad 478 or something so far. So
Yeah,
it was about 20% below sack rate. So we've got that sitting at sack rate right now. PulseX, huge discount, 60% below sack rate, 4 zeros and a 4 right now. I bought some literally right before we went on the air. So yeah, and it is about 10% up off the lows. It was, guess it technically was 92% down back in ratio trading days, but we're not really counting that much. So it was 10% lower than this just very recently. We got HEX on PulseChain at 1.4 cents, HEX on Ethereum at 9.3 tenths of a penny. It did cross a penny a little bit earlier today. So it's been rallying nicely recently. And I think we are going to see it, beat the dead horse again and kind of trade on and off with HEX on PulseChain. But yeah, things looking pretty solid. We've seen a little bit of pumpage and hey, still plenty of time to buy this stuff at supremely suppressed prices. So before we get into what we were going to talk about with this, what are you kind of focusing on acquiring right now, Ewok, in this ecosystem? Are you still liquidity providing? What are your kind of main focuses in the PulseChain ecosystem right now?
Well, yeah, I am still providing liquidity for the PulseX pair because it is earning me incentive tokens, and I really think this is the one that we want to be watching. It's interesting. I think it's bottomed out. We were up to like $83, I think, at one point with this coin. When it first launched, a lot of people did decide to dump it. We'll see how it plays out as far as governance goes later. If it's going to be used for fees or, who knows how it'll be used or incorporated. Maybe the single-sided PulseX staking will provide incentive. I don't know. It's going to be interesting how it's played out and how it's used. But it kind of has hit a bottom. It's kind of stayed pretty steady here at this $11-12 range. So I'm just, there for a while when I was getting major rewards early before, a lot of people started jumping in, I was making 70-80% APR and, making $1,500 to $2,000 a day in these tokens. But again, they were upwards of $70 or $80 a piece. So, that has diminished as well. But what I was doing with those returns is then turning around, using them and purchasing all the coins with it. I would take a little chunk, buy some PulseX, take a little chunk, buy some Pulse, buy some HEX, buy some eHEX. So I was buying all of these with the incentive. So it really wasn't, I want to say it was hurting the price. I wasn't dumping it for USD or anything like that.
Sure.
But I was pumping it all back into the system. So, that's still my play, but I've slowed down on doing that. And I'm more focused on just kind of seeing how many of these I can accumulate for now. And we'll see how that goes. But that's been my strategy. And are we going to talk about the new thing that kind of came out, the new toy
We're going to. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to give my thoughts on a couple things you said real quick. I agree with you on the incentive token. I think we're kind of seeing it, maybe not like bottom, but I think we've been seeing it kind of just hang out in that range. I saw Axis Alive on Twitter. Great chart skills, obviously, and a great follow. He was tweeting about that earlier too, and saying that he thinks it's kind of rounding out towards a bottom here. So, if you are, if you hold enough Pulse and PulseX primarily, which it would be the main pool to provide liquidity for, definitely a good opportunity right now to start earning some of that ink token and really doing whatever you want with it at that point. You can't really blame people for putting it back into the ecosystem, but what was the other thing you just said? Oh, what I'm really focusing on right now too is just I'm just acquiring everything pretty much equally. As a matter of fact, really the only thing I haven't even bought at all is HEX on Pulse. That's the only thing that I haven't bought. And I imagine you might be the same way, Ewok, because it's I wanted to, like many people, I wanted to get my Pulse bags up. I already had a bevy of PulseX, so I slowed down on that some. But if I'm buying HEX right now, I don't care what anybody says. I'm buying HEX on Ethereum because it's lower, plain and
Right.
simple. So,
Yep. And they both work the same way. We did look at the share rates and everything like that. If you want to go ahead and talk, I'll pull up, see what those are looking like.
yeah. What you mean, just the spread between them right now, like the comparison
Yeah.
on? Yeah. When I saw earlier today, it was like at 40 or 50%. So it seems, and this would stand to reason. Oh, you're talking about the share rate, my bad. But as far as the price of HEX on each chain, I guess this would stand to reason. But like when the ecosystem goes down, you start to see the spread open up a little bit more and get to that 40, 50%. When everything's pumping, we've seen it go back to about 30% difference. We haven't seen it close more than about 25% so far. But again, we've talked about this before. Like when prices really starts going and when this shit really starts pumping, maybe in the second half of this year a little wee bit, I'm interested to see what eHEX versus pHEX does do. But yeah, take a look real quick at the share differences here. I'm interested to see that too.
So, yeah, the payout per T share isn't that far off. It's 0.03 difference. So you're not getting a major value right now. And it does cost a little bit more to get those. So it pretty much evens out. I would say they're pretty darn close as far as how many hex that takes to get a T share, and then the payout per T share. This takes a little bit more hex to do it, but you're getting a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, it's not as big of a difference as I thought it would be at this point, but we'll see as time goes on. Time is going to be the interesting thing. After a year, how does this look? After 6 months, how does this look? We're still only a month and a half in, and
Right.
I don't think it's had a chance to do a whole lot right now. We are staying pretty close. Even at these prices, they're still pretty close to parity. I wouldn't call them equal, but it's staying about as close as I thought it would. So I'm happy with where things are.
Yeah, I am too. I do think we will see that payout per T share on Ethereum get better. I mean, we've talked about that, how it may be the better place to go for actually mining hex. Let's answer. There's two questions I wanted to get to. Let's go to Alex's first, right before Deft Hands, because he had his in there first. So he said, "Do y'all think PulseX or Pulse will be more valuable token in the long run?" I know we agree on this, but definitely Pulse for me, Ewok. Now, when you say long run, Alex, obviously there's different time horizons, but we're really just going to focus on this actual cycle. So by the end of this bull run, sometime maybe in 2025 or something like that, I think Pulse certainly does better than PulseX in this bull run. And to kind of answer then just directly Deft Hands question, off of the bottom, I'll just give you off of SAC rate for Pulse's performance. I mean, we've talked about this and given our kind of predictions before. Again, predictions are kind of useless. It's better to look at a range. But yeah, I mean, I think 100x for Pulse off of the lows is generous, actually. I mean, I would think off of the SAC rate will probably be over 200x or so for Pulse. And then since this kind of answers Alex's question too, I think Pulse will do two. Look at the ratio right now between Pulse and PulseX. I think you'll see Pulse do that much better than PulseX, basically, which has been 2.5 to 1, 3 to 1, or something like that so far from PulseX to Pulse. So, what do you think on those accounts, Ewok?
Yeah, I think we're right in there. He's calling 0.007 as his top for this cycle, I think, right?
No, he missed 2 zeros, actually. I think he's trying to say the bottom of Pulse was 0.00007, which
Right.
is what it has been so far. I think that's what I see what he's saying. Yeah, so he's saying so that's what the price would be if
Yeah,
it
so
passed. I
7/10
got
of
it.
a penny is what he's calling as the top, I think.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
if
You're
I'm
right.
reading that correctly, I could see that. I think 100x is fair in the first cycle. It's going to be it's really going to depend, I think, on Ethereum gas prices. If they get out of hand, I think we're going to be more favorable on PulseChain. I think more people will migrate over. If they do something to keep the fees somewhat normal, I don't see as much success right away. Like I said, I mean, nothing wrong with PulseChain at all. It's amazing. It's fast. But the fees are what are going to help us. There's no doubt about it. If Ethereum stays affordable, people they're not going to migrate. They don't want to learn new things. It's hard enough to get people to learn new things and check things out, because there are so many scammy things out there. So gaining that trust, and Richard has done a pretty good job, and the Hexicans have done a pretty good job, of remaining steadfast to what we have, and trying to teach the good word of the things that Richard has kind of taught us. So, there's not that much. Well, I don't. The right way to say it is, it's really. I think it's just going to depend on the gas fees, as to how successful we really can be on this first cycle. Now, after the first cycle, I could see things, as you said, things may come to a little bit of a screeching halt. But for PulseChain in the second cycle, I could see it doing extremely well, if it's around for another cycle, um, especially because, you look back at Ethereum and see what kind of gains did it do in its first cycle. I forget if it did 100x or a 200x. We know it's done over a 10,000x in since it's 6-7 years now, that it's been out, but it didn't do all that in the first cycle. I think it might have done 100x, 150, 200x, whatever it was. I'm not looking at any statistics, so I just kind of throwing that number out there. So I think that's probably a pretty reasonable estimation. Now, with PulseX, it's going to really depend on how much business PulseChain gets, because obviously that buy and burn function is going to be so massive, as far as price appreciation, and the more tokens get burned, the more valuable it really becomes. It's still just it's got better tokenomics than Uniswap. I'll say that. It's not just a duct tape on token.
Right.
There are,
Exactly.
so there are a lot of game theory things included in it. It's going to have better appreciation. But yeah, I still think in the long run, Pulse probably will outperform PulseX. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. But good thoughts. And I like some of the stuff that's in the chat. Alex followed it up too with what is a good stack to kind of have for both of those tokens. I mean, it's all relative. I mean, it really depends on what your goals are. Are you trying to just make a million this cycle? Are you trying to make a million in each one of your Pulse bags? What's your starting capital? And I'm not asking you at all to answer any of those questions, Alex. I just am saying rhetorically to anybody. But what I put in there, and I've seen data on this. I saw Westcott Crypto tweeting about it. Sami has certainly talked about it a lot. But they've both talked about, and many others, but they've talked about like roughly what the, what league statuses may be. So turtle, squid, whatever. If you're familiar with that with HEX, right now, roughly anywhere between, I would say, 110 million and 150 million pulse is probably going to be in that squid level, which is a significant level. I'll put it that way. So, and then for PulseX, you're looking at a higher number, obviously. So probably anywhere from like 180 million PulseX to 250 million PulseX. I'd say those two numbers, you're probably comfortably in the squid league for each of those. If you don't know what that stuff means, maybe you're familiar with like the Staker app and stuff for HEX. I know it's kind of weird, but those would be good levels to be at, I think, to do well this cycle. And then you just got to hold after that. So, yeah.
Keep buying more. Keep buying as it's low. You're going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have. If you don't. So DCA what you can. And, I think you're going to be fine. And try to earn more. There's don't get crazy. Don't get crazy and do risky things to earn more. Don't put it into weird things promising, yield that you're, may not get, and you may not get any of it back. So just, be smart, hang on to it. That's half the battle, is hanging on to what you have, and trying to accumulate a little bit more in the meantime. Just don't risk it.
Definitely. And so many mechanisms too. We're going to see downturns that'll make your stomach churn a little bit here. We just did a couple of weeks ago in this ecosystem because a lot of it is new, obviously. But that's why it's so important to be earning more along the way. You can earn more HEX, obviously, by mining it. You can earn, we just talked about liquidity providing for Pulse and PulseX. Everybody's forgetting about HEDRON and ICOSA, which credit to Crypto Coffee just had on Crypto Sloth and another guy the other day, kind of revisiting that stuff and the crazy amounts of yield you can make with HEDRON and ICOSA staking. So all that stuff is out there. Use it. I'm definitely doing that right now too. But I want to move on to what we're going to get to here because we had a few other points that I think are really important. So I appreciate all the comments, guys. If you guys are still here and enjoying the stream, hit the like. Really good comments tonight. I think those are questions that certainly maybe helped you guys, but I think probably helped out the wider audience because I know a lot of people have those kind of questions. So good stuff. I don't care to spend too much time on this because I just don't care about it. And I don't think you do either, Ewok. But some people, I don't even know who they are anymore. I guess I'm just kind of hearing it. But they're like, when is Richard Hart going to stream? Why isn't Richard Hart streaming? He streamed whenever HEX was new. What's going on? Why won't he talk about this great product that he created? I'm not really worried about when he does. I think the fact that he's been tweeting when he does is good enough. What do you make of it? And what would you say to people that I guess are nervous and feel like they need him to stream for whatever reason?
Well, we kind of touched on this last week or the week before. Where has he been? Why is he not streaming? Probably a couple things. I'm sure he's busy. They're still working on things in the background. There's another possibility too of maybe, and this is total speculation because I don't know, but maybe there was someone that said, yeah, you might not want to stream. Maybe his lawyers advised him not to because of all the SEC stuff that was happening. I'm sure he's got lawyers. I'm sure he's listening to them. And if they advised him not to stream until this becomes a little bit more decentralized, then that's what he's going to do. So again, complete speculation on that front. Maybe he's just trying to shake out all you soy boy lettuce hand people who don't have enough faith and don't trust the community that's here to help lead this. And if you have to have Richard, then you're probably not in the right place. You've got to, the product has to stand alone. And I think, maybe that's what he's trying to prove. Maybe he's waiting for the right time. I don't know. It's all speculation. But there are so many streamers out there that are doing great work. We're all trying to give you as much information as we can. I know it's not the same. We're not big brains like he is, but put everybody together and you'll get one big brain. So that's that's just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I have enough faith in the products as they stand that they can survive if Richard never streams again. It may not be as good, but again, he doesn't work for us. He's made that clear. He's not gonna show up just to pump the bags, and that could be considered,
Mhm.
without saying it, you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason. I think that's one of the biggest reasons is he wants to see how far it can go before he really does make an appearance.
Yeah, I think it's 100%. I think it's the right move to let the product stand on its own. Now, I'm not saying you should never stream again. I mean, I really enjoy watching his streams because he's a really knowledgeable guy.
Yeah.
Not worried about like him being there to just show, oh, hey, he's out there and he's alive and I should buy these tokens. I don't care about that. It's enjoyable to hear his commentary on the crypto landscape, even if he's just tweeting about it, I think. But
absolutely.
Keep in mind too, and you just touched on this, Ewok. What other ecosystem in crypto has the amount of streamers talking about it like HEX and PulseChain does? I mean, like you just said, yeah, none of us are Richard Hart, but we're all carrying the torch and talking about this stuff constantly. Like there are so many people doing really, really good stuff, and all different kind of skill sets. Talked about Axis Alive earlier, awesome chart guy, Crypto Sloth. The HEDRON wasn't created by Richard Hart, but he really took to that. Crypto Coffee is always there with new tutorials for any brand new thing that comes out immediately as soon as it happens, bringing the community together. Another community guy, Gary Funding Jim, is always out there doing stuff. I know I'm missing people right now because there's just so many. Big Pep has been back, and I enjoy his streams. He just shoots the shit for like an hour.
You got Hexologist, and you got all the guys from Discourse Syndicate, and you've got there's almost always a stream on, and we're not even talking about half of the Twitter spaces that go on daily. There's rooms full of people just in there talking about it. So not just YouTube, but Twitter streams, and there's people. Well, not many on Twitch anymore, but just about anywhere you look, you can find something happening from one of the community members at any given time. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Matty Allen, I've been watching his streams a lot lately. Who else? I don't know if you know that My Life is Awesome guy, Coach Lit or whatever. I've been watching him here and there. Whales Only is awesome. B Roots I've been watching. There's just so many people to watch right now, and it's so exciting right now because we are at the bottom area of this ecosystem right now. And to just hear the excitement from all these different people streaming, it's I'm not even really thinking about when is Richard Hart going to stream, frankly. So, I'm not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it either. He'll stream eventually. And when the time is right, we've always said Richard's a couple steps ahead in his planning. So he really knows what's going on. And I wouldn't worry about it. If you are worried about it, then you might not be in the right space.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking too about the other ecosystems. I mean, Charles Hoskinson is awesome with Cardano, but I don't know how often he streams if the Cardano community is always clamoring for a Hoskinson stream. You think about some of these other ecosystems. XRP Ripple is a lot of people follow that. I don't know who it is, Mr. Rippleman or something like that. I don't know if whoever that is comes out and streams for them every now and then.
His name is Brad Garlinghouse.
Yes. Garlic. Yeah. Garlic Boy. So all that stuff. I mean, Richard is an enigmatic figure and is a big personality. So I think that's why it gets more attention with HEX and PulseChain. But keep in mind, that's not happening out here with all these other people. I don't think Gavin Wood is streaming for Polkadot all the time. I don't think Sergey for Chainlink is out there streaming all the time. It's just not a necessary thing to have happen. So I think Hexicans are kind of spoiled by that.
And Satoshi disappeared. So, I mean, you look at that and kind of compare the two. I think maybe we'll have a happy medium. I don't think he's going to stream a lot. And maybe he's just getting us ready for that, not streaming all the time. And the ones that he does, maybe he's going to make them bangers. You know what I mean? So Who knows?
Yeah, I think what will happen is when the market starts to pick back up and PulseChain is inevitably more so talked about by bigger institutions or exchanges or something like that than HEX ever was. Um, you'll probably see these interview requests from publications and stuff wanting to talk to Richard Hart. I think we'll probably see that again. So let's talk about this weight token thing, Ewok. We're running up against it a little bit, and we have two really good things to get to. So
Yeah.
you were mentioning to me about accruing the weight token, that's WAIT for anybody who wasn't familiar with it, and how we could be able to use that to really lessen fees for participating in this ecosystem. So go over kind of what your thoughts were for it and how we can acquire the weight token.
Yeah. So in the past, if you had sacrificed for PulseChain, PulseX, there were several others. I'm not even going to go through them all. If you claimed them before PulseChain went live, then you got your weight tokens. You then had to convert them over to V2 because they had different functionality once PulseChain launched. Now the guys that created this, OX Coast, have created a fiat on ramp. It's in beta right now, still being tested. But the normal fee is 4%, so it's not too bad. But you're going from fiat right from your card right into into PulseChain. So you might even be able to go right into HEX too once they get that taken care of. But either way, right now it's just USD that you can send out and do whatever. Like I said, it's in beta, so they only have the one thing open right now. But what the weight token does is if you lock up 10,000, I believe your fee goes down to 3%. If you lock up 50,000, your fee goes down to 2%. And if you lock up 100,000, your fee goes down to 1%. So it is by far at 1% the best onboarding tool that there is. Most places are taking between 3 and 4. Yes, it will be an off ramp as well. But at this point, those weight tokens are pretty cheap. I said to Broke Boy, I said, I think it makes a lot of sense to spend the 50, $100, whatever it might be. I saw the chart the other day and it was making a run. I think because a lot of other people had this same idea. But get enough to get 100,000, lock them up and make that your on and off ramp, paying 1%. You can't beat it anywhere. So that was just, the one thing that I had said to you, and these guys are working hard. I know there's a couple states in the US that still can't do it. In fact, I know New York is one. I know there's a couple others that aren't open yet, only because of the logistics and the laws of that particular state. But eventually, hopefully, if everything goes well, those will be added on too. So, but yeah, it's going to be a great tool to get right into PulseChain, onboard directly, and save fees at the same time. It's a win-win all the way around. And those guys have been awesome community support for a while. Gold Key not Gold Key. Coast.
OX Coast.
OX Coast. And I forget the other guy's name right off the top of my head, but they're both very intelligent guys. I've heard them in spaces before, chatting, and they're just quite intelligent. They've put their work in and they've done the research, and it's going to be a very good addition to this whole ecosystem.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, like the easier it is for people to get into it, the better. And, that's really been the big thing with crypto at large and with DeFi at large is, we're not really worried about these institutions and people just spot buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever when we're into DeFi. I mean, we all like DeFi and we don't mind the complexity of it and kind of learning it. But that's the big gripe with a lot of people is just like they don't understand how to do it. There's too many steps or whatever. So anything like that makes it cheaper and easier to get in. I was just watching a stream earlier today and somebody just asked, how can I buy PulseChain with cash? And you want to have an easy answer. You want somebody to understand how
Yep.
they can easily do something like that. So
Yep.
anyway, we can do that, obviously, is good. Let's talk about this checks thing, cHEX. All right. So we talked about this before we went on the air. Not that it's a bad thing. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks it's bad. I don't think it's bad. But your sentiment talking about it beforehand, Ewok, was, I guess, just kind of not the fear, but like the thought that like there's so many different things kind of being built into own in this ecosystem that are also called hex that it kind of gets confusing for people.
Yeah.
I do think this thing is a good thing. So if you don't know what we're talking about, it's we know pHEX is hex on PulseChain, eHEX is hex on Ethereum. cHEX is a new creation from a couple of guys. We have Dipcatcher on Twitter and Gold Key.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Which have created this basically hex combinator. Okay. And I believe the website, if you want to pull it up in Charity Walk, is hexcombinator.com. We were talking about it before this stream. This just got announced a couple of days ago. It is already live. And really the purpose of this thing, and I'm not going to get too in the weeds. I'll let Ewok do that and we can read straight from the horse's mouth here. But the purpose of it is to allow you to essentially mint or buy one token and purchase hex simultaneously on both chains. If you don't want to think about like, I'm okay with this, but like I'm just buying hex on Ethereum right now, like I said earlier, because of the spread. That's what I would rather buy. But some people just want to buy hex and I want to have hex everywhere. So how can I do that? Well, that's what hex combinator basically does. So Ewok has it pulled up here. Do you want to go through? I can't see it probably as well as you on your screen, but do you want to kind of read how the protocol works right there?
I might add, these are the same guys that created the Maximus group of tokens as well. So it's not just a no-name person. These guys have been around for a while. They did all the, the Maximus and the Decimus Lucky Trio base. They're doing the pool party thing. Lots of stuff. So it says Hex Combinator is a dual chain indexed. It's an index token backed by an equal number of eHEX and pHEX. Anyone can mint one checks by depositing one pHEX and one eHEX to the Hex Combinator trustless smart contract. At any time, one pHEX and one eHEX can be redeemed per checks token burnt through the Hex Combinator smart contract. So basically, it's just an index that covers both tokens. You can easily buy this coin, and whenever you want, redeem it for one of each on each chain. So I think they posted the addresses earlier. I'm not sure if they're
I think I
here.
just found it.
So you do want to be careful. It's one of the things. I don't know if you want me to read through this whole thing. I can, though.
Paraphrase if you want, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, well, it says, cHEX is designed to track the combined value of eHEX and pHEX through a bidirectional dual chain minting and redemption function. If cHEX on one chain becomes worth more than cHEX on another chain, it creates an arbitrage opportunity to buy the lower priced one, redeem the hex, and bridge them over and remint on the other side. So it's kind of weird how that works, but it is an arbitrage type thing. Due to this arbitrage cycle, that keeps the price between cHEX on both chains relatively constant. Providing liquidity between the two could be a high yield, low and permanent loss liquidity strategy. The goal is to have a token that roughly tracks the combined value on Ethereum and PulseChain, basically. The solution for new onboards to the HEX ecosystem to gain exposure to both chains with one simple swap. So that's essentially what it is, what it does, and it's a neat idea. But my theory and what I had said my concern was before was that, we've gotten so many of these derivative type things, and the ecosystem hasn't really multiplied. I know there are new people coming in slowly. You can see it by the users. In fact, I do kind of want to see that, how the users are looking.
I get what you mean, though. Just to follow up on that point, like somebody was probably going to make this, and I think it might as well be now, and it might as well be these guys. You know what I mean? And they've been around and are well trusted. But I'm not going to use it, I don't think, obviously, because I just want to buy whatever's cheapest just myself. But
Yeah.
it is probably something that could be good for somebody just getting into it that wants to buy hex on both chains without doing a lot. So, I mean,
Right.
it's a good creation. I think the cHEX thing is probably going to confuse people. I don't know that I would have wanted to choose that. It's not my decision, obviously, but yeah, it's way to get exposure to both. So
Yeah, and you can't stake it. So that's another thing. Currently, you can't stake it. I think one of the biggest tokenomics of hex and is that it makes more of itself.
right.
If you buy this, you're kind of stuck liquid. And as we all know, price appreciation, prices go up when people buy more than they sell. Okay. When people have a bunch of liquid coins, they're not locked up. They don't have a penalty for just dumping. A lot of people would not have held through 13 doubles if they weren't staked. So,
Right.
we're up to 330,000 holders, 330,672. But again, my fear is just that I don't think with all these new additions, we haven't gained the community enough to support them all. And there's just so many options that all kind of do a very similar thing. If we only had Hex right now, I think you would see a much different price performance. But again, it's a good way to get people exposure to both chains for nothing else. If that's all you're doing, and you want them to buy the ability to buy, both some on Ethereum and some on PulseChain, then it'll be good for that. So.
Yeah. I think I think somebody was going to create this at some point, so we might as well already have it now. And an easy way for people to get both. I guess now maybe you don't have to really make the decision of like if you were helping somebody out that was new or onboarding somebody new, you don't have to necessarily choose each, one of the chains or whichever one and debate that. You can just do this, but yeah. So from Ryan, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
Ryan says minting cHEX does lock up both eHEX and pHEX, taking liquidity off the market. Yes, it does, but it doesn't have a penalty function for getting that liquidity right back. I mean, if you stake your hex, there is a penalty if you don't fulfill the promise that you made to yourself and the contract. So this doesn't have anything like that. It doesn't kind of force you to hold. So that was kind of more my thing. But yes, it does take liquidity off the market. Will that really affect the supply? Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's one thing to not take for granted is the kind of innovation that we do have in this community from people that have made stuff over the years. I'm glad it was made. I think the title is probably going to confuse some people, but it's good that it exists anyway. Go ahead. I'll let you read that one.
Yeah, Alex says now they could make it where you stake your cHEX. I don't know if we call it checks, but to lock and penalize. Alex, the problem with that is if you try to create another contract, there is only one hex contract that locks up and pays you the inflation. I don't think there's a way for them to. I don't know. It's a good question. If there's a way to simultaneously make a stake through a contract that will reach out to eHEX, stake it, and pHEX and stake it, and then when your stake is done, when you end it, if that functionality would actually end them both at the same time, that would be, I think, a positive thing and make it a lot cleaner. So if they're smart enough to pull it off, more power to them. And I think that would be good. But there's really no way to mint more hex unless you do it through the original contracts on each chain. So,
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, we'll see more developments with it. I mean, this just went live like 2 days ago. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure we'll see more developments with it and more angles of it that they'll work on. And, that's what we're going to see. I mean, like Alex McWhorter, a year and a half ago creating HEDRON and Dicosa. I mean, like, as you see a product like HEX was already a couple of years in at that point, you started to see like, well, what would be something good to add to this smart contract to help it out? And it would be, a stake being a little bit more liquid or being able to, like, we have the HSI auctions now, and you can actually buy somebody else's long-term stake. So, we're going to see the quote unquote problems of the ecosystem and little things that people would like optimized a little bit better, and somebody will create something to fix it. So it's
Yeah.
awesome that that's
Yep.
happening,
And speaking of that, before you
Mhm.
close this out, right now, that is probably one of the best ways to get T-shares. By the way, if you don't know, is getting HEDRON and getting in these auctions. Some of these things are so undervalued. HEDRON itself is way undervalued. Now, I don't
Yeah.
usually like to push other things that aren't Richard Hart coins, but in this case, the object is to accumulate T-shares, and it's on sale. It's on fire sale, actually. The HSI discounts are just through the roof. So you can purchase some HEDRON. It's pretty low in price as well,
Mhm.
and then go in and bid on some of these auctions that are ending. I think there's a bunch of them ending now. You may only get some M shares and some B shares, but they do add up. And you can get your hands on them pretty cheap. I don't know if people aren't paying attention. It's a bear market. There aren't as many people watching it probably. But take advantage. Find the discounts where you can. Get your hands on as many T-shares because they're just as valuable when that stake ends. You can cash it out, redeem it for the hex, and you're just as good as if you would have natively staked it. So just keep that in mind. So
Yeah, if you get one of those HSI auctions, it's just like it was your overall hex stake from the beginning. And
yep.
I did see, I actually was going through some of them today. There are ones that are T shares. I was only seeing kind of lower amount of T shares. There were a lot of B share ones, but
Right.
I do have a gripe with it. That layout, I mean, while it is easy to read, why are you not able to sort any of the columns? Like why can't you just I want to sort by T-shares. Why wouldn't I
Right.
want to and you can't. I'm just like 6 pages in looking for like
I know. That
Yeah.
was one of the things that I had sent Alex a message asking him, and I thought he fixed it. I thought at one point you could.
Yeah.
Um, Now I know you can on the hex screen. You can move. I think you can filter those columns. I'm not exactly sure. I thought it was addressed on one, but not the other. And maybe because they only show the active ones first. And if you
Mhm.
filter for T-shares, some of them are not active yet. So they don't want to show
Okay.
you ones that aren't active.
Aren't
I'm not,
actually
yeah,
on
I'm
this.
not sure why, but I'm pretty sure that you can flip end dates and things like that back and forth on the hex tab or whatever it is of that website, but you can't do it with the auctions, and that is kind of I was trying to do it myself. It's funny you
Yeah,
said
I'm
that.
looking at it right now. I'm just on it right now taking a look, and yeah, you're not going to find too many oh, there's a 6 T-shirt. Yeah, okay, there's some bigger ones. There's 8 T-shares, 10 T-shares. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, 54 T-shares. You have to go
So what's
to
the price on the one that's 10 T-shares
let me go back to
roughly?
that. Okay. So, let me just make sure what column I'm in here, which one's the actual price. So, okay. Starting bid on the 10 T-share one. Oh yeah, there's tons of 50 T-share ones. Yeah, now I lost it again. Hold on. Um, okay, there it is. 57 million HEDRON is the starting bid.
57 million, you said?
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Yep, and you times that times point zero zero zero
I think it's
zero
five
zero
zeros.
zero. Looks like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7038.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. So it's gonna be like what, $100 or something?
$39.
Oh my god. For 10 T shares.
That's my point.
Now this is a 55-55. So keep that in mind as well if you guys go to here.
It is.
But
when you look at things, T-share price, one T-share, if you buy it on Ethereum, it's $256 for one T-share. PulseChain, it's $396 for one T-share. $39 to buy that. So, and that was how many T-shares?
That was 10. So,
10.
Yeah.
So 10 T-shirts for $40.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
Shouldn't be giving these secrets out, trying to buy as many as I can, but
well, it's pretty. I mean, maybe there's a reason it's hidden like this because I'm on like the last page of the HSI auctions, and these are the ones that are ending in what's the total amount? It looks like you can go up to like 60 days.
I thought they were 90, but it's possible 60.
Okay, all right, but yeah, the biggest ones look. Damn it, the biggest ones appear to be at the end. It looks like. That's what I was just checking out. So,
okay.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to acquire T-shares, I mean, this is another thing nobody is talking about. Nobody talks about HEDRON or ICOSA. Nobody's really talking about HSI auctions right now. I think it might just be because maybe it's complex. Like if there are people here watching right now that have never really heard about it and they're hearing us, they might be like, what the hell are you talking about? So maybe we can do something more extensive on that next week. But yeah, there's a lot of
people are free to do their research too. Go to Crypto Sloth's channel. He's got hours and hours and hours of HEDRON material. I hate to do something when we're not as proficient as somebody else. I mean, we can be, but when there's other people out there that study it and are in it daily, I like to at least point you to the ones that are much better at it than I am. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but there are people that can talk circles around me about the things that they have over there. So.
Yeah, and you will see here, I mean, these are pretty much all 55-55s. This is basically people who did a 15-year stake that they're trying to get out from underneath for whatever reason.
Yep.
And are willing to sell it to you for pennies on the dollar. So, boy, I mean, I might actually hop in here tonight and just start looking around because this is actually pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, they're transferable. So wait 5 years and see, or even at the top of you don't have to hang on to it. Yes, they're 5-5-5-5s, but with these being this way, they are transferable. You can put them on the market. It is an NFT, so it's fungible,
right?
As a token, and you can sell it at any point.
Yeah, definitely good to check out. That's the HSI auctions on icosa.pro. So yeah, we'll do a whole segment, I think, maybe on those next week. That'd be good to focus on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you are still here as we wrap up the stream, smash the like. We appreciate all of you guys joining us here this evening. We do this every single. What'd you say? I missed what you said. I
said smash the like.
Smash it. Smash the hell out of that like button. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called the Creed of Crypto. I am broke Boi Crypto. That is Crypto Ewok. And yeah, any other final thoughts, Ewok, for tonight?
No, man. I'm good. Peace out. All right. Stay healthy. Yeah. Get some air. Yeah. Dollar cost average. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, everything's going to be good. We got great prices going on right now. We got a long way to go to get to the Citadel. And we've got a long way to go in this cycle, but I think we're all going to make it. So thanks again for watching, you guys. We'll catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.